Need high-quality video to promote your event, business, or band? We can help.
We're Pixel Pond, a video production team based in the Pacific Northwest, providing high-quality content to clients across the U.S. and Canada.
Whether you want coverage of your live event to promote for next year, or need a camera and a camera operator for your next big project, we can accommodate projects of all sizes.
Your story is important. Visit pixelpondllc.com or send an email to info@pixelpondllc.com to get started today. We can't wait to work with you.
Coming up on Gamers Week podcast. Banks in Japan are blocking Steam payments for sex games, leaving Japanese adult game devs cut off from their income.
So Japan, the country that overwhelmingly produces most of this content, and I'm sure that money goes back into the economy of Japan, right? Just throwing that out there.
As Sam Disfaction says, help a Japanese dev buy a horny game. And Frank says, oh, won't somebody please think of the horny devs?
Ryan has helped them out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, this story must be of particular interest to you, Ryan.
I do find it funny. I made a joke one time that I had bought an adult game. And this, we've gotten so much mileage out of this joke. I love this.
So Blue's Aragorn whiteboard is your porn video game whiteboard.
Exactly. Okay. Adults only, particularly hentai games. You're right. Right on the little whiteboard.
You know, there's that small matter of the Super Bowl bet, Donnie, if you haven't chickened out.
Oh.
I haven't chickened out.
Okay. So what bet should we do then?
So if I win, then Ryan has to do a stream dressed as Little Bo Peep, and I actually want like a live sheep to be there right next to him during the stream.
We don't need to know what he's going to do with the sheep, so.
I just needed to basically authenticate the outfit.
And then what about if I win?
Same thing.
Same thing.
Really?
Okay. Yeah, you're right. There's no losers there. Same thing, except if I win, I want you both to do a stream as Little Bo Peep. And then Ryan can be Little Bo Peep, and Donnie, I want you to be the sheep.
I'm not terribly opposed to this.
Go Eagles!
You tell you where that shepherd's crook is going to go.
Well, I was actually going to say that if I win, then Blue, you have to do a stream in like a cosplay.
Okay.
And it can't be some just lame, like, oh, I painted my face as a cat. I'm a cat. Yeah, that kind of stuff. No, you have to really put some effort into it.
Okay.
And if you win, then I was going to suggest that I would do a stream in some ridiculously humiliating outfit. Like I would go get a wig or something. I mean,
really, I thought you were doing that today anyway.
I agree to those terms if I get to pick the humiliating cosplay. Because I need to make sure that the humiliation is adequate.
Oh, okay.
Do you have a hot tub?
No.
I was going to say hot tub stream.
I have a bath. I have a tub that I could.
Ooh.
Now we're talking.
But again, I'd have to put like, what are the bubbles and stuff all up here? So.
Pasties. With tassels.
Tassels, like swinging tassels.
Yep. Go Eagles. Go Eagles. This is going to be good.
Oh, that made me sick to my stomach.
I know. I don't feel good saying it, but we're doing big picture here.
And we are live.
I noticed you went live right after I took a drink and like dribbled all down my chin. So thank you for that. That's the look I wanted to start off with.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody.
All right. Welcome, everyone, to Gamers Week podcast. Like the name says, we analyze the best, worst, and weirdest headlines of the past week in the video game industry. This is episode 151, and today is Wednesday, February 5th, 2025. Thanks so much for tuning in, everyone. My name is Blue Williams, and I'll be your host for this evening. But as you can see, I am not alone. I do have two fine co-hosts with me. And please congratulate my co-hosts on the release of their new adult film. You can find this full-length masterpiece at any reputable online purveyor of the salacious arts. Just search for Ryan, a.k.a. Randy, the Spank Prince Sizzlehammer, and Donnie, a.k.a. Max, the Dongle Drinker Hardwood, starring in Bearded Cockle Muffins 4, Revenge of the Butt Brawler.
Oh my goodness. Dongle.
Thank you.
Are Brian and I in the same film?
Yes, you're co-stars in this movie. You headline it.
My name is Hammer something, so you can call me Jackhammer if you want to. Because once I'm in there with some pressure.
You're feeling it? You're changed?
Exactly.
I'm the Dongle Drinker?
You earned that nickname, trust me. Don't be bashful. Live it up.
What? Wait, how thick is the dongle?
Guess you have to watch Bearded Cockle Muffins 4, Revenge of the Butt Brawler and find out.
Bearded Cockle Muffins.
You gotta put that on a t-shirt.
All right, so in the chat, we've got Sam Disfaction saying 50 Shades of Aragorn, and then GoldenEye comes back with 50 cents of Aragorn. So...
And cents, SCENTS.
Yes. I like how we can't even get like 5 minutes into the show before we gotta mark the board again.
Pinky Aragon.
Sansty 70s first time chat says dongle.
Dongle. First time chat, but clearly not their first time.
No.
First time chatter, long time listener.
All right. All right, let's get the show started with our reviews, reactions, and requests. Go Hobo Go says, I've got a good one from the past that younger generations wouldn't understand, the Dewey Decimal System.
Which again reminded me of UHF, which was Conan, the librarian.
The librarian.
Don't you know the Dewey Decimal System?
Just cuts them in half with a sword.
And also, they probably wouldn't understand that movie either.
Right.
Oh, God, no.
Right.
Not at all.
Yeah. Zach Huge Thanks says, A, I would be happy to nip RGB in the butt. B, where do I send my money for the Donnie nip slips? And C, I do not apologize for this nip-themed comment.
A, only if you buy me dinner first.
B, you know my PayPal information already.
And C, we do not need you to apologize. It made the show, sir. So clearly we appreciate it.
It's too late to apologize.
And last up from Bruno 007 2000 says, you have to have some of the best entertainment in podcasting I've heard. So my question is, why aren't you on YouTube? I don't have Spotify. I know that's a me problem. So it would make it easier for old timers who hate adding new apps like Spotify or TikTok to our ever growing lineup of must hear. Love your content. Be well. And I did email back Bruno and let him know that we do have a YouTube channel.
Yes, we do.
Audio versions of the podcast upload there automatically every Friday, correct?
Not automatically. I have to actually. So the odd part is they upload, but the upload is private. So that's a me thing, admittedly.
We got a lot of me things going on.
Yeah, I have to go in and make that change. So I do apologize. Sometimes they are late, but most of the time I try to remember.
Yeah. So if you don't like having new apps, head to YouTube and you can find us there.
Yeah, and also our the stuff that we record on Twitch, we also upload to YouTube as well. So you get the episode kind of like double. This one is
when Donnie remembers.
I was sick last week. Okay, that's a him. Can you cut me a break?
That's a him problem.
That's a me problem.
We make sure we assign everybody their individual problems.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to our patron shoutouts.
All right, well, we couldn't do what we do without the help of our gorgeous patrons. Here are the generous folks supporting Gamers Week on Patreon. The Pixelpon family, including Shannon and Luke, Zach, huge thanks, Puzzle Better, number one Blue Six Boys fan, John Barron, Old Habits Die Hard.
There you go.
Sassy Sony, Evo Lust, Ry's Secret Best Friend, Mega Retroman, Gamatroid, More Deep, Michael LaKite. That kid is back on the escalator again. LaKite, sorry.
Love it.
Emo S, Bill Tucker, The Real Retrogamebrews, Fruitcakes, Pickled Pepper, Ducks with Thick Thighs, absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress, Wizard of Zardoz, Bobson Dugna, Blue's Little Sis, Loudmouth, Retroblast Pat, B&T Zilla Guy, The Mad Milkman, Seven Castle Forest, Crunchy Kong, Sheriff Snacks, Frank Grande, Love Retro BTW, Steven San, Ramboski, Terry Kinnair, AJL 2020, Don't Make Me Pull This Car Over, Games with Coffee, Hybrid Divide, You Fall Before Me, and Davey PGH. So if you like what you hear today, we really hope you do, please consider joining us on Patreon. Your support helps cover the cost of producing the show, as well as other cool stuff we'll be doing like prizes and giveaways. And you'll gain access to our bi-weekly patron-only bonus cast called Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. Visit patreon.com/gamersweek or follow the link in the show notes to learn more.
I almost think we need a separate whiteboard and count the number of, like, it has been 12 episodes since Ryan said Terry Cannell. But maybe that'd be, we don't want whiteboard overkill.
I was just saying, you would have like a collection in front of you, right? You're like, oh.
You're right. All right, let's move on to the headlines.
Our headline segment is proudly sponsored by the Retro Game Club podcast. It's a fantastic, family-friendly retro gaming podcast. In each episode, Rob picks 2 games to play and discuss, as well as news, interviews, and other topics. Right now, they're doing their long-awaited Ask Me Anything episode. Send your questions to email at retrogameclub.net or follow the link in the show notes.
I think I would like to know, because they've been at this for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I would like to know the secret of their longevity. And if they want to talk about podcasting too, that's cool.
Did it. I mean, it's a retro game club, so they play games every single, month? I guess. Like, what's the highlight and what's the one that was a mistake is what I would ask, I think. I'd like to know, like, the peaks and the valleys of this experience, Mm-hmm. No questions, Donnie?
I had something, and then I'm formulating something in my mind, and then I'm listening to both of you, and all of a sudden it's like, nope, see ya, I'm gone.
We forget with Donnie, he can only fit one thing in there at a time. So
I am not multifaceted. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck? Wood could chuck? Never mind. That's just screwed it up. Sorry, Rob.
That's why they call it a tongue twister.
I had one shot, one opportunity, and I let it slip.
All right, let's move on to the headlines. So MultiVersus, the Warner Brothers IP platform fighter from Player First Games, is coming to an end on May 30th. On Friday, Player First revealed the game would receive its 5th and final season this Tuesday, February 4th. The season will last until the end of May, after which MultiVersus gets delisted and its online functions rendered inert. After that date, players can download the game and access its offline functions for the foreseeable future. MultiVersus initially hit with its open beta back in 2022, which lasted for nearly a full year before Player First took it offline to complete development. The game came back with a vengeance in 2024 with a new look and more characters, but players had issues with its grind and monetization, plus changes made from the beta to full release. This is the second of 2 live service games from WB to stumble this year, following on from Rocksteady's Suicide Squad going out with a muted bang back in January. With MultiVersus going away, it's unclear what this means for Player First. WB acquired the studio last year after the game's relaunch, and this has been its sole credit.
Pour one out for live service games again. Yeah, I guess
pour it out into the mouth.
Yep.
So I can tell you what's next for them. Maybe work on something different. Instead of shuttering the studio, have something else. These studios that get purchased, they should have several different things in the pot, right? Several different ideas stirring around, taking form, having brainstorming meetings and stuff like that. And then, oh, hey, like this one has got some legs. We can flesh it out a little bit more. And now let's put some like really, really, really more thought into it, more work into it. And there you go. You have another game that you can bring out within a couple of years. So just because this game failed and this live service game is going away, it doesn't mean you should really shutter down the studio. See if they can't come up with another game.
Yeah. Do you think that's the lesson that WB is going to pull away from this?
Doubtful.
No.
Yeah, they have taken probably their strongest IPs between Suicide Squad and then just every IP that they could throw into MultiVersus, and they've given it their best shot and everything failed. And do you think they're going to realize why they failed? Because of crappy live service mechanics? Or do you think they're just going to go, well, video games aren't for us, just close everything and let's go somewhere else?
I mean, in the future, right? This is the last time we'll see something from Warner Brothers, is what I'm saying.
Their IPs are too valuable for that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it's one developer that's not going to be in the mix anymore, right? But you're right. I think that does certainly put Warner Brothers in particular in a position where they're going to question it. It's kind of like how every studio saw the Mario Brothers movie from the 90s and was like, I don't know about this. So, I mean, it took years for them to put some legitimacy into video game movies. And I mean, if we were just talking about this last week, when it comes to Resident Evil, even that movie itself didn't really follow the plot very much, right? It was a good zombie movie. That was the point, is that it was not necessarily a faithful adaptation of Resident Evil. They would much rather create their own movie just using the name as an IP. But this is the same deal. Warner Brothers more than likely it's going to be a while, is what I'm saying, before we see something big potentially coming from them. And I don't want that, to be honest with you, but it's that live service games piece. Everybody is jumping off that ship, right?
Right. I mean, because I never played it, and I don't think you guys did.
Never even heard of it.
So I looked up, essentially, I went on Google and said, what's wrong with MultiVersus? Why don't people like it? And I came across something from Digital Trends, and it says the presentation of the game feels pulled straight out of Fortnite. The overwhelming numbers of purchasable items, currencies, and well-known IP thrust in front of my face is a constant reminder that WB's corporate overlords are looming over MultiVersus and hoping it's a financial success. Reviewer says, I was granted access to everything in this pre-launch build for free too, so I imagine I'll feel that even more once this stuff is actually locked behind paywalls.
That's a good point, too. It sounds to me like this was not about celebrating their IP.
Nor about trying to make actually a good game.
Right.
Once again, like we've talked about before with these live service games, they are trying to reverse engineer a money-making machine. And you just can't do that. If you don't start with a good concept and a fun game, nobody's going to give you anything. Although I have seen some people online being upset because they ponied up for the $100 like founders edition of MultiVersus, and now 6 months later,
sad.
I know.
So I'm looking at this game, and it looks exactly like Super Smash Brothers, only with all of Warner Brothers.
That's essentially what people are saying. It's a shitty version of Smash Brothers, where everything's behind a paywall.
And I think they banked on the fact is that they have so many different characters from so many different realms that they can throw in, and the people's desire to have battles between somebody like Marvin the Martian and Beetlejuice, like have all of the battles that your imagination could desire. And okay, I mean,
apparently Jason Voorhees is in the game, Donnie.
I don't see how. He's not a Warner Brothers owned character. He's owned specifically by the likeness of Jason Voorhees is owned by Sean Cunningham, I think.
I'm just saying, I saw people were playing with him.
Does he like gruesomely murder other people? Because if he's not gruesomely murdering other people, that's not my Jason Voorhees.
Exactly. There's no way. That reminds me of the DC universe versus Mortal Kombat, whenever they would not have the fatality shown of like the Joker shooting Superman because like, oh, we can't have Superman showing being dead to everybody. Yada yada. Like, give me a break. If you're not going to do it to the full Mortal Kombat experience, then don't even put it out.
End rant.
Exactly.
It's like nobody asked for this, I think. Because, I mean, they've come out with a bunch of games that try to emulate Mario Kart as well, that include IPs from other places. And that really hasn't worked. I think the only one that I can think of was when Mario Kart 64 was out and Diddy Kong Racing came out, and that was decent. That wasn't bad. You know,
still
that was
Nintendo, though.
Right. It's still under that Nintendo umbrella, and we know that they certainly take care of IPs typically well.
I mean, back in the heydays of the kart racers of the 90s, like Crash Bandicoot had one, and there's several Sonic ones, but nothing has ever really touched what Mario Kart does. Yeah,
they got a Nintendo one that came out for a Nickelodeon one that came out for the Switch. Yes,
I remember.
Yeah.
I reviewed that one, and it's one of the reasons I don't review games anymore.
Nickelodeon broke you.
What up, John says Garfield Kart is pretty cool.
I have Garfield Kart.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's an actual game?
Yeah, I have it on 3DS, I think.
Do you play it regularly?
I played it once. I mean, I bought it as a joke because I was like, this is going to be terrible. I'm just going to at least see if it's fun terrible. But it was just kind of blah terrible. So
like you've got Garfield, Nermal, John, Odie, and that's all the characters that I think I remember from Garfield.
There's Arlene, the girl cat.
Ah, okay. So five playable characters that you can race around and get lasagna and coffee. Woohoo!
Should be able to play as Bill Murray as well.
Oh, God.
Fun fact. Okay, so the guy who plays Dr. Venkman in the real Ghostbusters, the voiceover guy, right? He was also the original voice of Garfield.
No way.
And so if you think about it, Bill Murray, who was originally Dr. Venkman, played Garfield in the movie.
Yeah.
Think about that.
That's crazy.
Meta, dude.
You're like blowing my mind right now.
GoldenEye coming in with Lorenzo Music. That's right. That's that guy's name. I remember because I watched that Garfield cartoon all the time.
Why I know that, don't ask.
And Webhead says there's also a Heathcliff kart racer on the Wii.
Oh, really? No. Wow. I haven't thought about Heathcliff in a hot minute.
Yeah, can't remember the last time I thought about Heathcliff. All right, next up. Meta Chief Technology Officer Andrew Bosworth said in an internal memo shared with Business Insider that the company's Reality Labs division needs to turn things around in a big way in 2025, or else its whole venture into mixed and virtual reality could go down as a legendary misadventure. Reality Labs has sunk tens of billions of dollars into VR development, but the technology has never broken through to the next big thing, as once predicted. The division suffered nearly $50 billion in losses over 2020 through 2024, and the news has not gotten any better since. In its fourth quarter earnings report released last week, Meta said Reality Labs recorded yet another operating loss of $5 billion. Meta has access to virtually unlimited resources, but even it can't keep taking those kinds of body shots forever, a point Bosworth made in his memo. If you don't feel the weight of history on you, then you aren't paying attention. This year likely determines whether this entire effort will go down as the work of visionaries or a legendary misadventure.
Can I just start off by saying that if you're not a professional athlete, you shouldn't have a nickname.
Like the Boz?
Yeah, like Andrew Bosworth, you know?
Yeah, but he's one of those cool guys.
Right, like, hey guys, it's just the Boz. Hey.
Yeah,
hey.
He gave himself that nickname.
Probably one of those cool suits who just wants to be one of the regular guys at the water cooler, and everybody hates his fucking guts.
Everybody calls me Boz. Like, really? All right.
Until he leaves and goes, no, nobody calls me.
No. I do like how they keep saying, if it all goes wrong this year, it will be chalked up to a legendary misadventure. Like that's something a bunch of cartoon characters go on in a feature-length movie that Disney puts out. A legendary misadventure. That's not what you call a project that cost a company $55 billion so far.
So This is the same Reality Labs that has been working on the next like Oasis space or whatever or what have you that released it.
You know, so they don't say metaverse in here at all because that's nothing but a joke.
Right. So this was supposed to be the Oasis thing that ended up looking like it was on a PS2 when they released it. So yeah, I've got zero sympathy for the amount of money that Meta or Facebook or whatever they want to call themselves. I don't give a shit. No sympathy whatsoever. You can lose another 20 billion and I'll be perfectly happy because your product is crap.
It's insane to me that you can lose $50 billion on a venture and still be financially viable.
Yeah, that's nuts.
Yeah.
Like, I would say 99% of companies, if they lost $50 billion over 4 years, $50 billion. Not a scratch of equity would they have left in a business. That would be a catastrophic disaster.
Right. And most reasonable companies would say, no more. After the first year, they'd be like, no, we're not doing this anymore.
He's already dead. Stop hitting him. But yeah, that's an example of somebody just having way too much money to do something. Right. Like, I'm all about innovation. I'm all about the fact that we're pushing the envelope here. But I think that this was just someone's idea and they just weren't willing to give it up. And it hasn't caught on because, for one, when they first came out with it, I think that there was a barrier to entry from a cost perspective. And now that the Oculus Rift and all that stuff, when they purchased that and that those prices have gone down a bit, but nobody's using it particularly for any like killer application right now, from all I can tell. Right. Yeah, it's got a bunch of games on it that you can play, but nobody's going, oh man, have you played this one? Right. I'm sure some people bought it for one specific game or whatever, like it was Beat Saber. I just really wanted to play Beat Saber. Right. But it's not a phenomenon. They had to have found something that would make everyday people go, I need one of those. I definitely need one of those.
And that's where the whole, like, the Oasis mindset comes into play. If I'm able to put on my headset, right, and get into a social hub where everybody's there, right? I can talk to people, have not in the way that I have relationships with like you guys online or other people on Twitter and Discord and stuff like that, where you just type at them. If I get to see a visual representation of you or your avatar or whatever and interact with you in some way and do something in there, like such as drive a car or go skydiving or fire or fly a B-52 bomber and drop bombs or something like. Sure, that would catch on like hotcakes, and people would want to be there constantly. What we have now is buy this game, have this solitary experience, or you could play multiplayer games with other people online. But it's not the true identity of what the Oasis was in the movie Ready Player One. And I don't mean to be comparable what our VR is going to be to the Oasis. It's just that's a hell of an idea.
Well, right now it's a gimmick, right?
Of course.
Yeah, it's just a gimmick. It's a MacGuffin you put on your face. And you know what? There's still that stigma that it makes you sick. So there are plenty of people who will never buy it because you're going to get motion sickness.
If I recall the number, it was 40% of people. So that's a huge percentage of your audience who is just never going to buy your product ever. And what's perhaps even worse is they've never come out with any product associated with it that has made me wish that I didn't have that. And just be like, you know what? F it, I'm going to buy it anyway. And we're just going to power through and get over this.
Right.
Beat Saber sounds cool, but that's the coolest sounding thing that they have.
And I'm sure you can get some mileage out of Beat Saber, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not pouring 200 hours into that game.
If you really like beating your saber, you will.
I'm sure both of you have far more than 200 hours on that.
Definitely.
I've never played Beat Saber at all.
She meant beating your saber.
I've never
played. Press X for doubt. All right, Steam now warns you if that early access game you're eyeing up has been abandoned by its devs. Steam's early access program helps small to medium-sized developers get an idea off the ground, but not every game actually does. Now, Valve has a notice designed to warn Steam users when they visit an early access game store page if it's been a hot minute since the last update. Specifically, this seems to get triggered by games that haven't received meaningful development updates during the prior 12 months. The warning is displayed under the early access game banner and reads, "The last update made by the developers was over 13 months ago. The information and timeline described by the developers here may no longer be up to date." It's not a foolproof system, however. Steam doesn't recognize non-game content updates, such as a video from the developer's YouTube channel. Nor does it recognize patches made to an early access game's beta branch. It only appears to acknowledge content sent to the game's stable branch. This has led to many games that are indeed being worked on still being branded with the warning.
So, okay, I'm kind of confused with the wording here. Early access game, right? Mm-hmm. So you're able to play, beta testing, but it's going to tell you if they've made no updates to the stable environment in 12 months. So,
I mean, have you run into beta testing like that, like a game that is that far away from being good to go?
I think it's more just like somebody put an early access game on there and then just decided not to finish it. I think that's and
which I love that, the idea that you're warning somebody not to try something out and then having this expectation that eventually it's going to pan out for them. So I totally get that. My hope, though, it sounds like some games are still being worked on. I just find that timeline to be ridiculous, but
the 13 months.
Well, but no, I find the timeline of not updating the stable version of your game for 13 months while you're working on it.
No, it's 12 months.
Yeah, 12 months.
Yeah.
Right. But then again, I'm not exactly a game developer, and I know life gets in the way, and a lot of these folks are doing this for the fun of it. So when it comes down to it, I can understand that. Now, the question is, do developers have the right to contact Steam and say, still working on this, you can remove this tag? If that's the case, and it goes under review or whatever, I would love this. I think it's a worthwhile thing because, again, if you're banning it, you're just never going to go back to your Steam page to update it anyway. So this is great. But there needs to be a means for them to be able to contact if they get that label. And then, because, I mean, that's going to deter everyone. As soon as you see that, you're like, yeah, I'm out. Thanks. Have a great day.
Yeah, it doesn't seem, based on the wording, that they... if they were to send Steam something like a note, like a little sticky note or saying, hey, just text you, hey, are you up? Just letting you know we're still working on this. Okay, thanks, love you, bye. That's not going to update their stable game branch for everybody else that's purchased the early access or gotten involved in the early access to let them know, like, hey, they're still working on it. No, they would actually have to release some sort of viable content for that game in order for that timeline to start back from zero.
I wonder if you just like upload it and make one change to it, like you put a period somewhere.
That was my question. Like, what's the absolute easiest change to make? Upload that there. Bought yourself another year before you have to do it again. Sam Disfaction says, "Are we ready for the Steam PC or Steam dongle or whatever it is that they're supposedly working on?" Dongles. We're always ready for a good dongle.
She's not wrong.
It has to be good. It has to be good.
A good
Prefaced
dongle.
with good, yes.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it kind of sounds like this warning system is itself in early access. That's think
a good point.
that I'm just... I mean, hopefully they get a lot of feedback from devs that they should expand their definition of what meaningful development updates actually means.
It's a pretty vague term.
Yeah.
I also think that maybe you should have, and this is probably something they already do, like you should have at least a significant amount of content available for an early access game, right? Not just something like, oh, here's one level, bam, early access, there you go. And because, I mean, a lot of people can bring up different things like Unreal Engine or Game Maker, all that stuff, and just like make one level, bam, here you go. That's one level, early access. Give me money so I can continue working on this stuff. And then you're like, I don't really feel like it.
The only argument I have for that is that's how Minecraft was made.
Ooh.
Right? The guy just like made it like a couple levels, and like uploaded it, and people were like, "Hey, I would like it if you would do X, Y, and Z." And he went, "Okay, cool." Changed it, uploaded a new version, and just like that's how the game grew, right?
Yeah.
So that's my only argument to that, because that's the only game I can think of that went through that route,
But that's like a 1 in a million type
That's
thing.
what I'm getting at. Yeah,
that is certainly the exception to the rule. If only every one of these early access games could go on to be the next Minecraft, but
Right?
They're not all going to be that? You mean everybody's not going to catch lightning in a bottle?
weird.
Crazy.
I know, right? But yeah, I think even though there's still some kinks to be worked out in this system, I think more information for buyers is always good.
Yeah, I mean, transparency, education, I completely agree. It's just, again, I would like, if you're a developer, the ability to just contact Steam and say, hey, still working on it. Just wanted to let you know. And maybe like have them send you a warning, like, hey, your game's about to be kind of almost delisted in a way. Are you still there? It's the Netflix, right? Like,
Are you still working?
Right, because everybody loves when Netflix pops that up.
yeah, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, yeah, you are. That 1 time out of 10, you're doing the chill with your Netflix, so it doesn't matter, right?
All right, and last up, banks in Japan are blocking Steam payments for sex games, leaving Japanese adult game devs cut off from their income. Of the roughly 122,000 games on Steam, almost 6,000 are marked as adult only. That's about 1 in 20, and nearly half of those are tagged as hentai games. Despite the surplus of horny anime material available for purchase, Japanese adult game devs are apparently being kept from the profits of their Steam sales. Taro Yamada, a member of the Japanese Diet's House of Counselors, said in a YouTube broadcast that the issue is a Japanese law currently doesn't have procedures in place to address the nuances of international Steam sales, which leaves Japanese banks in a position to apply their own restrictions that raise concerns about freedom of speech in media production. These concerns echo ongoing disputes in the U.S. over restrictions on adult content, in which activists and organizers like the ACLU have argued that the vague and ambiguous policy requirements of companies like MasterCard and Visa, alongside growing state efforts to regulate access to pornography, threaten the livelihoods and speech rights of sex workers and adult content creators.
So Japan, the country that overwhelmingly produces most of this content, and I'm sure that money goes back into the economy of Japan, right? Just throwing it out there.
As Sam Disfaction says, help a Japanese dev buy a horny game. And Frank says, oh, won't somebody please think of the horny devs?
Ryan has helped them out, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, this story must be of particular interest to you, Ryan.
I do find it funny. I made a joke one time that I had bought an adult game. And this, we've gotten so much mileage out of this joke. I love this.
So Blue's Aragorn whiteboard is your porn video game whiteboard.
Exactly. Okay. Adults only, particularly hentai games. You're right. Right on the little whiteboard. So, I mean, if we're talking about the fact that they are limiting the ability for payments to go to a company that makes, let's be honest with you, legal content. Right. There's nothing illegal about what they're doing. And in fact, Steam is comfortable with it as well. That's a scary proposition. They could take away your ability to accept payments because they don't approve on a morality, it sounds like, standpoint about your content. If that's the case, make it illegal. If that's truly how your country feels, then make it illegal. Outside of that, if that's not something that's illegal, then keep your fucking hands off, right? Mm-hmm. That to me is such a violation. It's pushing your beliefs and morality on someone else. We all have our own concept of that. How we collectively as a society decide what's morally correct and incorrect is that we create laws, ideally, right? Mm-hmm. And so if it's not against the law, then how do they have the right to restrict somebody from gathering payment for their hard work?
It's kind of like the same thing that goes on in the United States with individual establishments deciding what's moral and what's not. Mm-hmm. And you have I'm not going to go into anything political, but I've seen, numerous instances where an establishment says, I'm not going to serve you because of this, or I'm not going to do this because of this, because of who you are, what you believe in, and yada, yada, yada. And you're right. And that's like the easiest way, in my opinion, to start a fight and to really have somebody so built up and so determined to do something about it that they're willing to cause harm to somebody. Because I can totally see that happening. Somebody is just a hothead. They say, well, that's my money. That's my hard-earned money that I've earned. And now you're blocking this because your company thinks that this is wrong and immoral, and you have no legal ground to. It's just your decision. Well, that's not going to work for me. Grenade, boom.
Well, and the thing to me, too, is I was thinking about this, like, what's the parallel over here? The other thought I was like, all right, what about like marijuana, right? Because it's like a state rule versus like a federal rule. So like, they've got cannabis stores that can't accept payments.
You have to pay in cash. They're like, we don't have it. We can't take your credit card, but there's an ATM around the corner. Just come on back with your cash. And
the reason behind that is because no bank that is FDIC insured can accept money for the purchase of cannabis or cannabis related products.
Yeah, even though these companies have a tax ID number, they have a business license, they're fully legal places.
So that was like the other analogy that was coming to mind for this, is that they're trying to shut these businesses down by putting them in a position that makes it difficult for them to make money and accept money. Because let's be honest with you, that's probably a deterrent for some people. I mean, especially nowadays. I very rarely carry cash, but you're right. Then I have to like go to the ATM to go pick up money. What I find funny though is a lot of those places do have an ATM inside.
That's the racket. That's the racket, right? So like a couple years ago when I was doing some of it, like I went to a dispensary that's right up the road, and I go to pay with my debit card. And they're like, "Oh yeah, sorry, you can't do that. We accept cash." I'm like, "But I have my card's right here." Like, well, we can't do it because of this and yada yada. We have an ATM. If you want to go do that, it's like, wait a second. So I've got to take money out that's going to charge me a surcharge here. My bank is going to charge me as well. Yep. And I was like, yep, no thanks. I just left. I went down the street and got like money out of my ATM and then had to come back. But it's an annoying process. Yeah.
And you want to know what's funny is even like places that just sell CBD, like no weed at all, just actual CBD stuff.
Right.
Have the same issue.
Yep.
That's stupid.
It is really stupid. And it's also a little bit like how I live in one of the states where I can't go to Pornhub anymore.
Oh, is that right? They're restricted. They throw like an age label on, don't they?
No, you can't even do that. Like, it's just not offered in my state.
It's you have to show blocked. Some identification or whatever to just...
Nope. It's just not offered.
VPN?
Yeah, like
VPN. Fortunately, there are many places elsewhere on the internet that are not operating as much on the up and up. And so, we're going to be okay. But the first time I tried to log into Pornhub and I was like, what the hell is this?
I'm sorry, you say log in?
She's a reviewer. She likes to put up, like, you see that.
Right. I mean, how is it going to suggest videos for you if you don't tell it what you like?
You know what? She's the reason why there's a share button.
You don't
what do you want to share this to? Like,
some people share TikToks, some people share Instagram Reels. Everybody's got their thing.
Hey, Bill, I was doing my thing to this thing. You should do that too.
This one looks like your wife.
Wait, it is.
Lucy, you got some explaining to do.
So my other thought is does this put Steam in a weird legal situation? Because now they've got all this money that's not theirs.
Oh, I'm sure that they're putting it in escrow and gaining money off of the interest.
Right.
That's what Twitch does. When it comes down to it, Bezos is holding on to your money until you get that $50 threshold, right? And I guarantee you on the interest alone on that money, bank, absolute bank. Bezos is going up to space again, just holding on to your money.
So in that regard, if Pornhub is blocked in your state, what about Steam games that have porn or nudity in there? are those blocked as well? Or do they even think about those?
I don't know. I haven't tried to buy one. Maybe I'll go buy one for funsie and see if it lets me do it or not.
I'm going to buy this for research purposes.
May I suggest...
For science. Science!
May I suggest Sex Airlines?
I know you've played through that, and
it's hilarious. They're really,
it's 4
really,
out of
really,
10, huh?
Well, they're really, really trying to put some story in between the scenes.
That's not what anybody's there for.
Exactly. Nope. It's just like, all right, let's speed this up. Started playing this game. I said to myself, I got 30 minutes.
just keep hitting the skip button on the dialogue. Yeah, whatever. Let's move on to our top 3 new releases.
All right, first up is Rift of the Necromancer, Switch and PC. The Necromancer's... I'm sorry, what? Dancer, Necro Dancer.
I'm your Necro Dancer.
Rift of the Necro Dancer for Switch and PC. The Necro Dancer's back in an all-new rhythm game. Dragged into a strange new world, Cadence must engage in a musical combat with monsters surging through the rift. Face pulse-pounding rhythm riffs where every beat is a battle. All set to an original soundtrack by Danny Barankowski and friends. Next up is Big Helmet Heroes for PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and X. Switch, and PC.
Swisher prishy.
Show yourself in an epic 3D beat-em-up adventure with adorable knights. Man, tongue cannot work today. Full of surprising worlds and situations. Grab your buddy and play in 2-player co-op to save the princess. But this is only the beginning. And last up, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Exactly.
All right. So on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X and S, Switch and PC, a thrilling story. I'm laughing too much. I'm thinking this dude got a pretty mouth. Thrilling story-driven action RPG with a rich open world set in the 15th century medieval Europe. Experience the ultimate adventure through the eyes of young Henry as you embark on a journey of epic proportions. So taking a look at these 3 games, Donnie, what are you in for this week?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 with less Burt Reynolds. It just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't interest me whatsoever. So I'm passing on that one. This one would be between Rift of the Necro Dancer, which I don't quite understand exactly the gameplay because I'm looking at it and it seems a little Guitar Hero-ish. But I don't know how that works. Like, what buttons am I pressing to... Yeah, I don't get it.
you're Josh Baskin and
yeah,
and big. I don't get it.
I think you're just pushing the arrow keys.
So that doesn't. I don't know. That doesn't seem very. I don't seem the colors and the characters. They look vibrant and alive, but pressing buttons and not doing anything. Like I get the what's the bust a move thing, the Dance Revolution. You're actually dancing. Guitar Hero, you're playing a guitar. This one, you're just pressing buttons on a D-pad. That doesn't seem enticing to me. So I think I'm going to skip Rift of the Necro Dancer, which leaves us with Big Helmet Heroes. And this game looks cute and cool, and it's almost like an adventure type platformer-ish game. Whenever I first saw it, it made me think of Astrobot, like that whole kind of design. So I still have yet to play Astrobot, but this one does look cool, and I think I might try this one, but I'm definitely not going to pick it up just yet.
Nice. Blue, what about you?
So Rift of the Necro Dancer, I'm going to be a little more kind to it than Donnie in that it looks great. The music sounds amazing. Rhythm games are not really my thing. I think a lot of people will have fun with it, and a lot of people in our Discord were really, really excited about it, but it is not for me. Big Helmet Heroes, it looks fun-ish. It looks like it might be cute, but there just wasn't anything that made me say, yeah, I got to play this. So I'll pass on that one, which leaves me with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. And honestly, I got to congratulate this game on its trailers. I think this game has put out some of the best, most compelling trailers that I've seen in a long time. And even if I didn't play the first game in this series and really on paper probably wouldn't give it a second thought, the trailers are amazing. So of these three, that's the one that I would go with.
Nice.
What about you, Ryan?
Rhythm game. As soon as I see that, it's a solid no on my part. I have no rhythm.
I have no gate key.
Just watch me dance. You will see. I have zero rhythm, and
big fish, little fish, cardboard box. That doesn't.
Cadence is always off. It's just always like a little bit off, like a little head and a little behind. Yeah. It's not good. I've tried DDR. I've tried the tatami mat game and all that stuff. And yeah, I've given rhythm games a shot. They're just not for me. I am rhythm challenged. And I am personally offended every time a rhythm game comes out. Just say that. I feel like it's a personal attack on me. With that being said, Big Helmet Heroes. I agree. It looked fun. I'm just not a huge fan of 3D beat 'em ups, just because a lot of times I feel like you get lost in like the space, if you will, of it.
Yeah, the direction.
Right. And so sometimes it's difficult to do. But Donnie, I agree with you. The art style definitely looked a little bit like Astrobot. I just love that their main character is just like a guy with an enormous head. Because as someone with an enormous head, I can appreciate that.
Kid!
It's like a watermelon on a toothpick. But yeah, it's just I've never really been into 3D beat 'em ups. Sign me up if it's a 2D beat 'em up, absolutely. But 3D, I don't think it just transfers that well. Which leaves me with Kingdom Come. Very, very interested in this game. You're right, Blue. Some of the trailers looked pretty dang epic for this one.
Donnie's been making that same stank face for I think 10 minutes.
Continue, Ryan. I'll say after.
Okay. So this has definitely piqued my interest. I just don't know if any of the games here are really like, jazzing me up, if you will, for this week. So all things considered, if had to choose, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 would probably be it, just based off of the trailer alone. But it's been an interesting week. I think the variety's good. Just not for me.
Yeah.
So stank face.
Who are you guys? You're calling this an epic trailer when it looks basic as
Are you watching the correct trailer?
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 official launch trailer. You see a lady poking at a naked guy with a whisk broom. You've got them hunting.
You don't think that's epic?
No. Walking through a market, a town market with beans and beets and stuff like that. Yeah, that's epic. That screams epic. Riding through a countryside with nothing there, an open. That's epic. I completely and 100% disagree with you two, and I think this is the first time that I've ever done this. I'm questioning our relationship now because you guys think that this is an epic trailer? Chat, help me out. Everybody, if you're listening to this on Friday, help me out. Am I in the wrong?
You're going to drive so many people to watch this trailer. You're going to be like, man, we got so many hits on Friday.
This is just, no, thank you. No, sorry.
All right.
We watch a lot of crap trailers, man. So the bar is very low for it.
I'm not going to apologize. I thought it was a good trailer. I thought there was some funny humor and one of those RPGs where you can go and do whatever you want. So
fine. It's a good trailer, not epic. This does not have an ounce of epicness in it. All right, stank face, Ryan.
Before we move on, let's take a quick break to talk about our sponsor. This segment is proudly sponsored by A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast. The show explores the history of video games through the stories and experiences of the people who lived it. In part 4 of the Final Fantasy VII series, Bill and his guests discuss how Cloud and Sephiroth may be the ultimate 1-2 punch in the entire Final Fantasy franchise. So this week's question is, what video game is your ultimate nemesis? Let Bill know your answer by sending him a tweet at @agamerlooks40 on Twitter and Blue Sky.
So I assume ultimate nemesis really refers to like a game that just you've tried and it like kicks your butt every time, or you tried and you're just not interested. Like, what would your definition of ultimate nemesis be?
I probably would do the first one personally, but as always, the questions are open for interpretation. Mm-hmm. There's no rules here.
No rules, just right. Like Outback.
No holds barred.
Like, what's a game that I've tried, like legitimately tried to beat and it like broke me? I'm trying to think. Because that hasn't happened in a long time. Not because I haven't beat a game, but because it hasn't broke me. Because I've just been like, screw it. There's a million other games out there, so I don't care.
Yeah.
So, okay, I'll tell you what it was for a long time was Punch-Out. Because I just could not get past Tyson. I got to Tyson many times as a kid. Just that first minute and 30 seconds, just could not get past it. You know? And so I actually didn't know that after that minute and 30 seconds, like if he hits you, you don't go down, because I never got to that point. So I just assumed that every punch you ever take from Tyson, you go down, which would make that even harder than it already is.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it just seemed like, well, this seems pointless. F it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And the other one was Battletoads, man. I still haven't. I mean, I've gotten to the rat race level. And that one, it's just so much pattern recognition and speed of you having to go down and then like kick the bomb and then keep going down. My old eyes and fingers is not equipped for that.
I've watched you stream that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you guys?
I am going to say Hollow Knight.
Okay.
Because I have been trying to get the Platinum Trophy, which requires you to beat the 5th Pantheon. And I have all but 2 trophies. The last 2 trophies I will get when I beat the 5th Pantheon and get the Void ending, which will be wrap it up, and then I'll get the Platinum. And I can get like 3/4 of the way through the 5th Pantheon, and I can't do it. It's just it's. I know it's possible, but I legitimately wonder if it's impossible for me. I have been trying for years, can't do it.
Which is the interesting part is because you also adore that game so much. So it's a literal love-hate relationship.
Literally.
It's just dangling the fishing pole right in front of you. You almost had it. You almost
had to be quicker than that.
Yeah.
I mean, I got the 112% completion. I have everything else. It's that last like 1/4 of the 5th Pantheon that I have to beat, and I just can't.
Oh, that blows. I'm sorry.
I should go back and platinum that game.
Oh, fuck off.
Is it like a massive middle finger to blow?
Yes.
I approve this message.
Like, oh, Blue, look what I got.
Let's see you do it.
You were that kid on the playground, I swear.
Mine would have to be, I remember the night that Marble Madness broke me when we were doing the big 20, and I was breezing through the games. I was like, man, this is real. Okay, I think I've got this. And then I get the Marble Madness, and it just wrecked me. I spent hours on that, and I just got fed up. I think my stream was even having problems, and I said, screw it, and shut it down. And well, then the next day, I was going to do it again, and I was doing it off stream, and I ended up beating it. Like I was able to complete Marble Madness. And I was like, you son of a bitch. Really? You couldn't have things couldn't have gone well last night for me to do this and breeze through the big 20 games. But that one initially comes to mind. The second one is UN Squadron. No matter how many times I play this game, and I see Red Ox play it, I see Mega play it, and they make it seem so easy when you have the slowdown, especially the slowdown for that game, when there's so many different sprites on the screen and it slows it down, and you're able to dodge the projectiles a little bit better because it's so slow. I cannot get that game to do my bidding. I can't.
And it's not like you're somebody who's not good at 2D, shooters. I've seen you crush Lightning Force.
I love that game.
Right. So it's not like you're you're just bad at that genre. That game in particular is just stupid hard.
It has me down on the floor with its boot on my neck, just laughing at me, and I can't do anything about it.
And now, it's time for the very important poll.
Every month on Twitter, we post our VIP, which is our very important poll. If you'd like to participate, follow us on Twitter at GamersWeekPC. And this month's question was, what is your favorite defunct 90s retailer? Coming in third place was Circuit City at 9.2%. Right in the middle at 36.7% was good old Blockbuster. And taking the poll at the top spot this week was Toys R Us at 49.2%. Now 4.9% of you said other. So let's take a look at some of the comments from the poll. Sleep is for Tea says Borders for sure. Spent a lot of time there. Helped run their open mic and even had a running tab at the coffee bar.
Nice.
Yo, give me another espresso. Put them on my tab.
Living the dream.
But low-key, Wet Seal in the 2000s was my discount jam, and I voted Toys R Us just because. Wet Seal. What was Wet Seal?
I believe it was a woman's retailer.
Okay.
Yep. All I remember is that I had a girlfriend at the time that liked to shop at Wet Seal, and I would pay for it, and it was expensive.
I hope you got paid back later.
Right? Need that rebate.
Yeah, I mean, it was we dated for 4 years, so yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
At C. Gallaty says, Media Play. I think you would have had to have lived at the time to understand the impact the store had when it actually dropped. I'm going to butcher this name. Atelier Cali says, Blockbuster / movie gallery was a Friday night ritual for us. Didn't have a Toys R Us close enough, so I made it count when I did go to one. Always got a Sailor Moon doll to add to my collection. Single Play says, going to the Incredible Universe was an event. Virtual reality, live stages wired with broadcasting equipment, and usable demos of everything from computers to stereos to Virtual Boy and the Miracle Piano teaching system on NES. It was incredible. I'd say, never even heard of this place. And Apostolic Paladin says, does anyone remember Children's Palace? There used to be one in the Deer Creek area near Maplewood in St. Louis back in the early 90s. Yes. Okay, yes. Children's Palace was a toy store back in the, I think 70s, 80s, 90s or something like that.
Damn, how old are you?
Why would you do that?
When 900 years old.
Because it was there.
Look as good. You're not.
Ohio Boyquan says we had one in Columbus also.
What, Children's Palace? Nice.
Apparently.
Okay. So, Blue, what is your favorite 90s defunct retailer?
So I have never been to a Toys R Us.
Really?
Really. They had one here, but parents never took me.
Too secular?
Wow.
Too expensive.
Gotcha.
There was a Blockbuster, which I worked at. Have terrible memories. Hate Blockbuster. Circuit City means nothing to me.
Right.
You didn't like the big plug that you had to walk through in order to get inside?
As fun as that was. No, my choice was Sam Goody. If you
Very
were
nice.
looking for overpriced CDs in the 90s in the mall, you snuck off to Sam Goody. And mostly I was just there to browse and listen to demos, and because they were always like 20% more than they were anywhere else you would have gone to buy the CDs. So I rarely bought something, but every once in a while I did. But it was mostly just the vibe of the store and being there and getting to hear the new music.
Yeah.
And you were at the mall, so it was already cool. So Sam Goody for me.
You were willing to put those bacteria-filled headphones on your ears to listen to the
We've
music
already
in the mall?
discussed this back then. There were no germs.
You know, what was interesting is never lived in an area that had a Sam Goody, but you heard about it all the time from like national advertisements. So I'm always curious as to what it was like to walk into one. So I might pick your brain on that someday and say, tell me more.
Elevated your cool kid status by at least 10% just walking through the door.
Yeah, I can concur on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Ryan, what about you? What's your favorite defunct 90s retailer?
So I really struggled with this one because there's quite a few that come to mind.
Yeah.
Right. Like the ones that come to mind was like there was a Toys R Us equivalent where I grew up called Kitty City that was only really in the Northeast, right? And instead of having a giraffe, they had a kangaroo. Yes. It was like, if you think about it, like the direct ripoff of it.
Right.
Right. So like BJ's and Sam Club. It's like pick one, you know, whichever one you want to go to. They're pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. But Kitty City, I still, you know, because Toys R Us existed, because it's gone, I didn't really care at that time. And actually, Kitty City went out long before Toys R Us did. So
Kitty City sounds like a strip club. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
I know Donnie's thinking it, but I'm going to say it.
But it's spelled Kiddie instead of Kitti.
I'm sure it is, but
nope.
Just that's not where my brain went at first.
So that also brings up like Fry's, which I found out recently went out of business, which Fry's is like, if you're a nerd and you needed anything, even remotely electronic, Fry's had it. And I'm talking even if you were rebuilding like an Atari 800 and you needed components for it, they had that stuff in there.
Really?
Yeah, it was nuts. Absolutely nuts. And that went out of business. But my experience with Fry's really only started in Vegas when I moved there because there was still one that was open. So that leads me to the one that I went to as a kid. It was its own store, right? It wasn't something where you like went to the mall to go check this out. Like this was like a huge plex, and it actually replaced a Caldor, if memory serves me right. So good old Caldor Retail Center, which was like a crappy Walmart.
Oh, never even heard of it.
Yeah. See, Gality said Media Play. That place was like, take a Books A Million, an FYE, and an electronics superstore. So like a Circuit City, right? Throw them all together in one space, and that's Media Play. So it was all out there. Books, CDs, video games, electronics, stereo equipment if you wanted it. Like it was all there. So you would walk into it and it was a bit overwhelming. But I remember doing the thing where you would just go to the CD section and listen to a bunch of new albums that came out, never buy a damn thing. You know? I remember going there specifically to get Mad Catz video game controllers because I was young and couldn't afford the good stuff. Like there's so many things that Media Play had, and it felt like it was only around for 3 years before it was gone. But I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that there was just so much stuff there, and I don't know how you turn the margins around having that much floor space, having to pay for that many employees, and expecting to make a profit on it. I just think it was just too much. So, but loved Media Play. Absolutely loved it.
Okay.
Donaldo.
Where do you start, man?
I know, right?
I mean, so many of these places just held so much magic when you walked into them. Blockbuster on a Friday night, the smell of the popcorn, the commerce. I love the smell of commerce in the morning. Getting to see if the movie or the video game that you wanted to rent was there. Mm-hmm. Walking into the Toys R Us, you know, walking straight to the video game section or the action figure section. There are a lot to mention here, and I could probably sit here and talk to you for hours about each one and their experience, their personal experience. Mine, for me, as far as like a defunct retailer, it's not really a specific one, but it's what the malls used to be.
Yeah.
The malls used to be so amazing for me. Even my own hometown mall, which was in Illinois. It was a very small mall compared to the other ones that were in the area, but it had an arcade. It had a Famous Bar, which is now Macy's. It had an electronics boutique. It had 2 toy stores. It had a shoe store. It had clothing stores. It had Spencer's Gifts. It had Walden Books and B. Dalton booksellers. So it had everything. It had a cornucopia of stuff. You wanted to look at clothes? Go to the store to look at clothes. You wanted to grab a slice of pizza from Sbarro? Go do that. And walk down to the arcade where you could look at, girls on the way and stuff like that. You could go into the shoe store and try on shoes. You could go see what this action figure or what that Super Nintendo game is going to cost. There was so much to do at the mall. And there are only 2 malls in my area now. They're still pretty big. They have a lot of retailers, but it doesn't quite hold the same amount of magic because there's not the same things to do. For me, as an adult, I want to get in there, do my shopping, and get the hell out. Right? There's no arcade there to keep me entertained for hours and hours on end, or to take my money that my mom gave to me for lunch. Hey, here's your $20. Here's your lunch for next week at school. And I'd spend it almost immediately in the arcade that night as soon as she dropped me off at the mall. So I'd have to hit her up for another $20 on Sunday and say, hey, Mom, yeah, I accidentally, whatever.
I accidentally my finger slip.
Exactly. So for me, it was the overall experience of the big mall where they had all the stores with everything right there at your convenience, and you got to experience it all.
You know what? Recently, when I was home in upstate New York, I went to the mall, the one that I grew up with that was packed, always packed when I was in my teenage years, and you would go there and it was a destination to hang out more or less. So you would meet people there, you would hang out, you would grab food together, you would shop, even though most of the time you never bought anything because you couldn't afford it because you didn't have any money. And going back there, it is such a shell of itself. There's so many retail spaces that are empty. In fact, there was one that was just a town over that was actually pretty popular that doesn't exist anymore. There are no retail spaces in it. It is literally a dead mall with a parking lot that people just use to do donuts in the winter, which is sad, really sad.
Yeah.
I always thought to myself, that would be an awesome paintball arena.
Yep.
So, make it into a mall or whatever.
Paintball or laser tag, another relic of the 90s.
Right. And at the end of the day, I mean, we're talking about retail stores, right? Mm-hmm. That's going the way of the dodo. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to leave their house. And because it is so darn convenient, and it's gotten over that stigma that I want to try it on first. That's slowly going away, right? Because seemingly Amazon is getting it right more often than not. So when you buy something off there, it's all right. I don't feel like returning it. So
yeah, that's where they get you.
Right.
So I'll just accept it the way it is. So I mean, it sucks because there was something that felt magical about walking into a store. And I don't know how many times, I would walk into a Hot Topic and see a t-shirt that was on that wall of t-shirts that they had and going, I'm going to save up money to get that t-shirt because I definitely want it, only to come back and it was sold out or not my size. But nonetheless, it's there's just something missing in that. And it just felt so depressing to go into the mall today.
That it does.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Let's wrap up the episode.
Do we have to?
We can sit here and reminisce about malls some more if you guys want, but
yeah, let's go.
I don't want to have to edit it all out. So.
Oh, okay.
I think you could just stop from here and just.
Right. Thank you all for listening to episode 151 of Gamers Week podcast. And a big thank you to the Retro Game Club podcast, Love Retro BTW, A Gamer Looks at 40 podcast, and Pixel Pawn Production Company for sponsoring this episode. Don't forget to check out their links in the show notes. If you want to connect with Gamers Week, follow us on Twitter and Blue Sky at Gamers Week PC. Watch us right here on Twitch at twitch.tv/Gamers Week podcast, where we will record live every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Time. Email us at gamersweekpodcast@gmail.com. Visit our merch merch store at gamers-week-podcast.creator-spring.com, or if you want to do it the easy way, follow the link in the show notes. And last but not least, join us on Patreon at patreon.com/gamersweek. Finally, since you made it all the way to the end of this episode, please leave us a rating and a review to let us know how we did. We really do value your feedback. And while you're there, consider subscribing on iTunes, Spotify, or your podcast platform of choice. Tune in next week to find out what embarrassing cosplay Donnie will be streaming as.
Yay!
I've never been more happy that the Bills lost.
I haven't decided what I'm going to have Donnie do, but I think it's definitely going to involve nipple tassels.
I don't know if I could do that.
You can totally do nipple tassels. And in fact, we could probably have them like overnighted to you from Amazon. Speaking of which.
I'll pick them myself and send them to you.
Yeah.
Pink Cherry has real cheap shipping.
She knows. She knows all about it. Adam and Eve doesn't do nipple tassels, all right?
They probably do.
Could I do like body paint?
So you're telling me that on a weekday, you want to get body paint on you. You want to come home from work, paint up, right? Play a game for an hour, 1 hour, and then fucking go wash yourself off. More power to you, bud.
What's
More
wrong with
power.
that?
I get to choose. So if I choose body paint, then he does body paint.
Like two little pumpkins and just make them dance like in the stream? Because I could do that?
I look like a man-o'-lantern.
See, and Frank says nipple tassels shaped like fish fighting them.
Oh, perfect.
No.
Those might be hard
well
to find,
done,
but I'll see what
well
I can do.
All right. So, by the way, too, guys, if you are interested in playing some Contra, and we do have a GWP high score event going on starting on Saturday, so definitely check out our hashtag GWP high score for more information.
Yeah, definitely check that out. Take care. Have a good night. We'll see you back next week. Hopefully with less body paint.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Young men, are you low on some cash? I said, young men. Do you have a nice ass? I said, young men. That's all I got.
The answer is yes.
Do you need cash now?
I have a structured settlement and I need ass now.
Call donniegretro.
877 ass now.
877 ass now. There you go. I like it. Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut.
Welcome to Gamers Week Uncut, Patrons with Benefits. This is the unscripted, patron-only bonus cast with less editing and more dirty jokes. We don't know where the conversation will go, but we're sure it will be weird.
This fish just went right on my nipple, and I'm just like,
I Google Street Fighter 6. The first search result that comes up is people think they can see Ryu's in the Street Fighter 6 reveal.
Listen up here, kids. You're not going to want to get one of those VD STDs things, right? Make you fall off. When you go, grab a pro. You'll be doing it for America.
That was perfect.
If you want to hear weekly episodes of our patron-only bonus cast, join us at patreon.com/gamersweek.